Hey, I'm Keke G and welcome back to my channel. It's been about 2 years since I posted a long form video and really, had an opportunity to talk to you guys. So I'm going to give you guys a life update and talk about how I lost my job. How I went from making six figures, utilizing my degrees, all the time that I put into school to all of a sudden being completely redirected and having to start over. Just want to be transparent and share my story with you all, and hopefully it'll help somebody else to keep moving, because something like this happening can truly be life crushing. Definitely unexpected. Not what I saw on my bingo card for the year, but what they say, life be lifing, and you just got to roll with the punches. So if you're interested in hearing about that and hopefully being inspired to push through challenging times in your life, just keep watching. So let's talk about what's going on with me. I have my notes here, so I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. Okay, so the last time I talked to you guys or posted a video, I think it was July of 2022. So here we are in November of 2024, and my life is completely different. I had started working a completely remote corporate job, which was utilizing my degree. I have a master's degree in biostatistics, and so was doing that at the time. That pretty much kind of completely took over my life, honestly. Took a lot of time, and I actually, when I started that job, I was going through breast cancer treatment. I was on chemo actually at the time when I started the job. So there was a lot that was going on in my life. So like I said, not only was it work, but I also had several doctor's appointments every week. Once I got into radiation, it was a daily thing. So yeah, I had a lot going on. And so that kind of took over my life. Didn't have the energy, rightfully so, like I said, I was on chemo, but I didn't have the energy to edit. Content creating it takes a lot of work. So I kind of fell off, but can't put it completely all on that. But also there was some imposter syndrome. Like, that's a real thing. And that's another story for another day. But those two things pretty much were the main contributing factors to me just kind of falling off the bandwagon and just going MIA, on top of the fact that I'm a Virgo. So I'm a perfectionist, and when things aren't to my standards, to my likings, or I get overwhelmed, I just I don't do anything. So that was back. I started that job back in November of 2021. Fast forward, I was there for almost 2 years. So fast forward to about September of 2023, I was laid off from the job. The company went through budget cuts, I'm assuming. I know that they laid off 10% in the company, and I believe it was due to budget cuts. Honestly, for me, it didn't matter what the reason was. It wasn't anything I did. It was a decision that the company made, based on financials or what the case may be, but they laid off 10% of the company. So not only was I laid off, but there were other colleagues that had similar positions to mine, or, other positions within the company as well. Like, I know of one of my colleagues specifically that I worked with that got laid off the very same day that I did, literally minutes apart. Like, they were going down the line, letting people know, effective immediately, we have to let you go. But leading up to that, I honestly was already planning on quitting. Like I said, I started the job while I was going through breast cancer treatment, but it was just stressful. It was fast paced, which that wasn't necessarily the issue in itself. I think I just had a lot going on with me, health wise, and then the aftermath of the after effects of chemo and radiation and stuff just on me, on my body, vitamin levels and all of that. My blood levels were out of whack. I literally it was overwhelming. It was a lot to deal with. And so I was already stressed with the job. I remember I started looking for other positions elsewhere, and I just wanted to quit. There were a couple of times where I literally was ready to just say, forget it. But I kept pushing through. So I'm actually glad that I didn't quit, because had I left on my own, I would have left empty-handed. But because they let me go and then because it was under the circumstances, it wasn't like I was fired for behavior or performance issues. It was due to whatever company situation they had. Because it was due to something like that, I was able to acquire a severance pay. So there was a benefit of me not walking away on my own and being kind of forced out the door. So I was okay with that. And then, like I said, with me being stressed and also having this desire to do content creating, and it's something that God had placed on my heart to really share my breast cancer journey. Right when I started treatment for breast cancer, I started recording. So I knew that I wanted to share my journey. I knew that I wasn't going through it for no reason, and that there was something that was supposed to come out of it. So I knew that I wanted to become a content creator. And also I knew that I wanted to strive for like financial freedom and eventually just not work for anyone. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I started a entrepreneur journey back in like 2020. That was all interrupted once I found out that I had breast cancer and that I had to, start treatment and all that. Like all of that went out the window because my health was the most important thing at that time. And so I knew I wanted to eventually get back to that. And I wanted to get to a place where I would be able to like control my own schedule, not have to work under someone else's standards. And, I wanted that freedom. And so I was ready to quit the job. I really was. So when they let me know that I was, being let go, I was like, okay. Like, I ain't asked no questions. So that's why I really don't know what and they might not have even told me anyways, to be honest. But like, I don't even know what all the full, complete reason that they were laying people off. I found out actually after the fact that they had laid off 10% of the company because one of my colleagues, we had talked after we both had gotten the news, and she kind of did some digging and found that out. But honestly, to me at the time, I didn't care. Like, I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders when I found that out. And then I was getting the severance pay. So for me, it was like, oh, I wanted to do this anyways. This is just me just waiting and having them do it for me, allowed me to be able to receive the severance pay. But I was ready to go. But because I had already had these dreams and of doing the content creating and everything, I felt like this was a sign. Me losing that job was a sign of God. Like, he was really forcing me out. Like, I had been wanting to do this and kept saying, oh, I will do this and I'll make a few steps, and then, I will get sucked back into job and overwhelmed by that. And so I think it was him really just like mama bird pushing the baby bird off the cliff to make it fly. Like, that's how I felt was kind of going on with me. Like, he had to force me out the door because I didn't take that leap of faith on my own. And so I was completely fine with it. I was at peace, which is another reason I knew that, this is what was meant. And I immediately remember thinking like, now I have the time to do what I want to do. Like, that was the first thing I thought about after finding out. And it wasn't how I'm about to pay this bill, how I'm going to do this. It was immediately, oh, I have time. I can breathe. I can do what I want when I want. Like, that was my first thought. So yeah, I just knew, I felt like God was changing my life. I feel like my faith is so strong that it was never a doubt in my mind about how I was going to survive as far as like, providing, paying my bills and taking care of my child, how things were going to be maintained, because God always provides. Like, I've never not had what I needed. That was the least of my worries. Having that faith definitely kept me grounded during a crazy time like that. Finding out that you're losing your main source of income. Now, granted, I've always had a little side hustle because God has blessed me with many talents. And I just felt like, okay, well, at this point, I have to put this stuff to work. And then also I did have a cushion. I had money saved up that I could use until I figured out what I wanted to do, whether I was going to get another job somewhere else or really put in the time and really make this content creating thing work for me. At the end of the day, like I said, I know that my faith played a huge part. It plays a huge part every day of me knowing that all things work together for my good. So it doesn't really matter what happens. I know that there's a reason for it and it's all going to work together for my good. Like, I'm really never like a huge worry wart when it comes to life experiences, if that makes sense. Like, even when going through breast cancer, like getting that diagnosis, of course it's a shock. Something like that, I feel like of course it's a shock in the moment, but at the end of the day, there was never a doubt in my mind throughout the entire treatment that I wasn't going to make it out on the other side. Like, I truly wholeheartedly believed, like, okay, well, all right, I got to go through this, and there's going to be something that comes out of it. Like, he's having me go through this for a reason, and I'm supposed to do something with this at the end of the day. Like, there was never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to come out on the other end. And I honestly believe that that's the reason why I came out on the other end as well. Like, mind over matter. I can go on and on about that, but you have to keep your mental right. And I just, that in any situation. And so this was no different as far as work goes, or, anything financially. I knew I would be good. After that, I just started making life adjustments, right? So like I said, I've been blessed with a lot of, God-given talents. I've been doing hair for many years. And so that was my first initial thought as far as like what to do to bring in money. And so, yeah, I got back behind the chair. I wasn't doing it as much as I could have due to work schedule. So it was just something on the side. However, once that happened, once I lost the job, I returned to doing that full time. I also launched my Airbnb business at that time. The way that came about was I actually was planning on relocating right before finding out that I was laid off. I had already started. This is why God be so good. When we have a plan, like he just has to laugh, because I just knew I was going to be out of Michigan by now. Like, I had a whole plan lined up just for a month before I was gonna leave. I find out that I was laid off. So it was like, oh, well, I guess I ain't going nowhere now, because how am I gonna get approved for an apartment or whatever without a real source of income? My main source of income has now been taken away. So it was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to go anywhere right now. However, I had already started turning my home into an Airbnb to launch that business. Because like I said, I had already had the desire to get into real estate, both long-term and short-term rentals and stuff. So at that point, I'm just like, well, shoot, I done already put in the time and effort into creating, preparing my home to be an Airbnb, and I still wanted to go forward with that business. And so I actually did that. I moved back with my parents temporarily, which I was already planning on doing anyway. My son is super attached to my parents. And so with us getting ready to move far away, I wanted to give him more time to, both he and I, but have, us to have more time to spend with them, for moving so far away. So I had already planned on moving back there for a couple of months before moving where I was going to go. But obviously once I got laid off and, that main source of income was removed, and I kind of was like, okay, well, I wanted to still go forward with the business. And I'm like, well, we'll just move back there. And then after a couple of months, do whatever I was going to do, whether I can find another position and continue to move or whatever it was that God was leading me to. Because at that point I knew, I was like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to leave. Like, I started kind of like second guessing it, because I'm like, okay, as soon as I was getting ready to, I was literally about to be out here. Like, I had already found an apartment there that I was planning on moving into. So all of that just came to a screeching halt. I felt like there was a reason for it, so I didn't want to force it. I'm glad I was able to launch my business, and I found out that I really actually enjoy doing Airbnb. It's definitely a very lucrative business, and I learned something else about myself, and I feel like I've grown as an entrepreneur in that aspect. So yeah, I think that was a very good thing to continue to go through with. So at that point, I had Airbnb going, I had hair going for me. So I really was a full-time entrepreneur. And I also started really getting into and being consistent with short form content. So I started posting more on Instagram. By the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you are. I'll put my info up here somewhere. But yeah, make sure you're following me on IG and TikTok. But yeah, that's kind of how I got forced into being a full-time content creator and entrepreneur. But I wouldn't change it. I enjoy doing this. I want to continue to do it, and I'm glad that I've been able to get back to it. Losing my job taught me a lot of things. It taught me that I never want to put myself in a position where someone else has control over my fate. Me losing that job had nothing to do with me. Like, it was completely out of my control. It wasn't about, like I said, it wasn't about performance, anything I did, but yet someone else made a decision and it affected me heavily. I never want to be in that position again, which I had already had the urge to, strive for financial freedom and become an entrepreneur and work for myself. But like, actually experiencing that really solidified that feeling and that desire to move in that direction. Yeah, I'm actually glad that it happened, and it also let me know that I also need to have more than one stream of income. I mean, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So I was already privy to that and striving for that, but it definitely let me know, like, okay, this is not it. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket anymore. I'm no longer putting all my time and effort into somebody else's dreams and, you know, what they've built, and neglect my own dreams, which is exactly what I was doing. Like I said, I pretty much let that take over my life at the time. Like, even after I was done with chemo and everything, all my time was pretty much going to work, right? I don't ever want that to be the case. And I definitely want to be able to have the freedom to choose my own schedule and work around family. Like, that's what's most important. Yeah, I want to be able to work around family and not juggle family around work. Another thing it really showed me is that I value my peace over money. Peace and freedom over money any day. I don't care how much they were paying me. As stressed and overwhelmed and unhappy that I was at that time, I would trade it all for peace and freedom. That's why I was not upset when I found out that they were letting me go. Like, they told me and I was like, okay, and got off the call. Like, I'm sure they probably was like, what, this girl don't care? Like, I kind of got off and laughed to myself, because I was like, dang, I probably sounded real crazy. Like, I probably sounded real nonchalant, which, if you know any Virgos, and if you know me, then you know a Virgo's nonchalant side ain't for the weak. But yeah, I didn't care, y'all. I honestly didn't. Another thing that it really taught me is you have to be willing to adjust. One thing that's inevitable in life is change. And so you have to be able to roll with the punches. Good or bad, life happens. Life is going to happen. Life is going to life. So always be willing and ready to adjust if need be, because it's highly likely that that will happen at least once in your life, more than once. Me losing that job really gave me the opportunity and time to focus on what it is that I really wanted to do and what it is that I really feel like God is leading me to do, my purpose in life, which is to inspire and to help others. And I know that probably sounds so cliche, but like, I've literally been saying that since I was a kid. Initially, I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to help people. Like, that was always my thing. I want to help people. So I feel like we really have a sense of what our purpose is as kids. You know where your purpose lies when you can do something that you don't mind doing without getting paid. I always have noticed that people find it easy to talk to me, or people I don't even know will just start talking to me and feel comfortable with talking to me. And so, I don't know, I've noticed that influence, and I don't take it lightly, that I have on others. And so I've always felt like there was something I'm supposed to do with that. And so I'm really just trying to lean in to my purpose. Okay, so with all that said, when I initially started my channel, my intent was to share my home decor, because I had recently purchased my home and was still decorating at that time, my entrepreneur journey, and then also lifestyle, to share my breast cancer journey. And I feel like with that, I kind of put myself in a box of trying to, I don't want to say be something I'm not, because those are things that I'm working towards, you know, as far as like, at that time I was specifically talking about like my journey as an entrepreneur in real estate. And that was something that was new for me, which is why I was planning on sharing that journey, but that kind of went by the wayside. So I'm not saying that I will no longer share that, but where I'm at right now, I'm not as focused on the real estate at this moment in time. However, I realized that I am the niche. So my channel is all things me. And one thing that I've always done consistently for years is beauty. Beauty, fashion, those things are things that I've been into for a very long time. So it's just like, that is a part of me. And that's actually what I've kind of been focusing on for short form content. So I want to bring that to YouTube more. I actually realized that I have a large influence in those areas. I'm always being asked about my hair, about maybe what I'm wearing. And so it's just natural, it's a part of me. It makes sense to include that and share that on my channel. Like I mentioned, I turned my house into an Airbnb, but I recently moved back into my home because I finally, you know, accepted the fact that I'm not relocating at this time. So moved back home. I'm glad to be home because this is where I feel comfortable and really have the drive and just more motivated, you know, here to record. And this is where I'm more comfortable at recording. This is my aesthetic. This is my home that I designed the way that I like it. And I am into home decor, so that is still something that I plan to share, but definitely hair and like fashion and stuff content I plan to bring. So there's a little bit of a rebrand happening here on my channel. Still planning on doing lifestyle stuff. I'm still planning on doing vlogs. I still plan to share my breast cancer journey. That's something that regardless of when it happened for me, there's people that are going through that present day. I literally actually had a friend that reached out to me the other day and told me that she found a lump. And so when that happened, that was still further confirmation that you need to get this content out, because there are people that this is still happening to today. So, you know, she was curious about what my process was, you know, what happened when, you know, I was diagnosed. Did they do this test? Did they do that? And so I feel like it just lets me know what I needed to be doing. I'm calling it the Pink Ribbon series, so be on the lookout for that because those vlogs will be coming soon as well. Because at the end of the day, I know that my story could possibly be someone else's survival guide. So I have to do what it is that God placed on my heart to do and what I feel like, you know, he has been leading me to do, and that is to share that and in hopes it helps somebody. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if there's any videos that you want to see. Expect to see more of me. I'm planning to be around for a while, so make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you aren't already. Join the family, and I appreciate you all for tuning in today. I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye.
Love yours. No such thing as a life that's better than yours.